What's up, everybody? How's it going? It's so good to be here. This is super. This is really exciting. This is my first time in Argentina today. This is my first time. Yeah, thanks. So the way these normally work for me is that at any point somebody can ask a question. Anytime, just say, "You got a question?" Even right now.
I got a question right now.
Okay, but one second. And that keeps the whole thing moving. I can obviously talk about harmony. I can talk about rhythm. I can talk about melody, and I can talk about Jacob and what I'm all about. Yeah. So harmony, rhythm, melody, life, touring, the one-man show and how it works, learning, the process of learning and education and how to do it, and like anything you like. Any question is welcome. All questions are welcome. So yeah.
¿Todos escucharon lo que preguntó? ¿No? Ok, si mezclaba y masterizaba la música él mismo o no era parte del proceso, ¿verdad?
There you go. So I mix, and I don't master, but mixing I do, and mixing is very, very important to me. So I have a room in my house, in my room, yeah, and so I've always made music in this room, and for me, I guess my process of learning involved mixing at a very early age, because when I was 7, I had access to a computer with Cubase. Do you guys know Cubase? Yeah. It's okay, and so yeah, Cubase is like Logic or Ableton or whatever, and it's a way of recording music. So, you know, I had a voice, and I still have a voice, but I had a voice, and I had a little MIDI keyboard and some percussion and a piano and a microphone. And so my first experience of making the kind of music that I make right now was, you know, listening to a song like Stevie Wonder, and thinking, well, okay, so there's drums, and the drums are going like, how does he do it? Like, can I work it out? And then I'd play it on the keyboard, like, you know, and recording that. And then gradually, you know, as you record these things, you record the drums and the bass and things. I couldn't play bass when I was 7, but I could sing a bass line, you know. So, you know, drums and bass and these different elements, I guess I had internalized them, and when I started to record them, mixing was inevitable, because you think, well, you know, if I have a note in the bass line that's the most important note of all the notes, you know, like the way you make that louder is you make it louder like that. So yeah, I began to craft the dynamics. So I'm just loading up. Is in my computer. I'm loading up. This is the Logic session for you and I. And I just want to show you how the mixing, because it's very, very fun. It's like, you know. So in this arrangement, there are, I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you see that? Okay. So every single one of the blue things is one audio file, and so, you know, as you can see at the end, like when it gets to this bit here, like it's like there's like 50 voices, you know.
En ese momento hay como 50 voces, ¿no? El que escuchamos recién.
And I just to show you, if I zoom in enough, there you go. So all of the yellow lines you see here, that's all volume. So this here, so there are lots of tracks. There's about 60 tracks. You put the tracks into groups, and then this is the yellow lines are the automation of each individual track, and then this is the automation of the group track. So there's like 20 tracks, and they all have little things, and then there's one track where it goes, you know, because you have to sculpt normally around the melody. If the melody can't be heard, then if something's in the way, it's very important to learn how to craft things. So yeah, so these are very individual tracks, and then this is the automation of this group, and obviously there's lots more groups, and there's other things. You can automate anything in Logic. You can automate volume or panning, or so it's a very, very important part of the process, because, you know, like for example in Hideaway, which I can show you as well, there's 350 tracks, and you can't have 350 tracks at one volume. So it's very, very important to learn what's more important than other things? So you know how in painting you have foreground and background, you have light and shade and these kinds of things. It's like it's adding a dimension because if you think about music as being a flat surface, then that has informational value. It's a thing. But the moment you go like this, with dynamics, some things are louder, some things are quieter, some things are in the foreground, and there are these shifting of things. So it's like if music's like this, it's in one dimension, I guess 2 dimensions, and then if it's like this, with dynamics, it's in 3 dimensions, and there are more dimensions as well, but those are very important. So I guess to answer your question, mixing is absolutely essential. Mastering is different because mastering is when you have a mix. And then you go into a studio and make it sound sparkly, and you focus on frequency bands, and you focus on balancing it all out. And for me, I've never learned how to focus on that so much. I've more focused on getting everything to be the right volume. And Ben Bloomberg, the guy with whom I built the harmonizer and the one-man show, he has an amazing ears for frequencies and stuff. So Ben and I sat in a room for a couple of days in Los Angeles after I finished my album, and we mastered it together there in the studio. One more thing it would be fun to show you. If we had a screen, then it'd be easier to see this. But so this is Hideaway, but each one of these tracks is about 20 tracks. So so for example, these. Okay. So can everybody kind of see? So this is the second verse. So touch me like I never loved. Second verse, yeah. And this is the verse that all the musicians are like, what's going on in the groove? Because it's so weird. And so the metronome is 49 BPM. So super slow. And basically the way I did it is I divided the beat into 5. So
separó el beat en 5.
So you know how you can have, if I put this down for 1 second, you can have a pulse divided into different numbers, yeah?
Sí.
So
un pulso se puede dividir en diferentes números.
So like 2 1 2
En 2.
Okay, and then yeah, and then so you have all these different. Thank you. You have there are lots of different ways in which one beat can be divided into different numbers of beats. So there's like in one bar, for example, like you have like 1 2 3
Entonces
4,
en un compás
1 2. So that's a bar of 4/4. But
4 cuartos.
Yeah, but in each beat you can have more beats. So I think it's always better to say, normally when you see on music you see a time signature, it's like 4/4, yeah. But for me, there needs to be another number up the top. So like 5/4/4 would be like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 3 2 3 4 5 4 2 3 4 5. But it's still 4/4, Yeah. So I tend to. I don't write out music on paper a lot, but when I do, I think it's important to describe the groove, in terms of numbers. And also, another thing about groove is that sometimes it's wonky, Sometimes, like samba, for example, is not like. It's like. So the way that samba like rolls like an egg. Yeah. But that's because the groove is wonky, it's not straight. Yes. Like that. So it's kind of like you go you kind of move these two in like that. That's quite instead of it's like and you get this feeling. And wonky grooves are just amazing. Let me see if I can I don't know if I have it on here. No, I don't have it on here. Oh no, maybe. So 2 3 4 1 2 So this is a wonky groove in 3 divisions. This is from Morocco. This groove is from Morocco. Yeah. Super cool. And honestly, if you look at the world and look at your life, it's wonky. Life does not do that, right? Life does this. Yeah? So music, for me, is very important that you also let music do that if it needs to. And in a similar way to actually the piano is not in tune. Did you guys know this? Yeah? Oh, that's great. So if you have a major chord, like this is F major, yeah?
Es Fa mayor.
And so there's a O, F, C, and A. Okay.
Tenemos Fa, Do, La.
But on the piano, because all of the semitones are exactly the same size, there's lots of there are lots of chords that don't sound as. It's okay, thanks, yeah, it's fun. There are lots of chords that don't sound as good as they naturally sound. Have you guys ever done this? Have you ever done that?
¿Alguna vez
Yeah.
hicieron
So harmonics here is. You hear the harmonics going up. So in every single note there are harmonics, and if you tune the major third to the harmonic series, it sounds super good. But on the piano, slightly wrong. So for example, here's here's the thing. So one semitone, right, traditionally is divided into cents. Do you guys know about cents?
Sí, un semitono está dividido en centésimos.
Yeah, so it's like one hundredth of a semitone. Yeah, and I've recently got really into microtones, microtonal stuff,
Sí.
and so there's just so many interesting harmonies you can get when you start to use microtones in music. You don't have to, but it's good to know how a major chord sounds. So for example, on the piano, the major third A, this is F major, and the A is 14 cents too sharp. Okay, and so this is right. But if I sing, maybe no, this is fine. So this is this one, and then if I sing. That's how out of tune the piano is. It's insane.
Sorry.
So anyway, so as far as tuning is concerned, I guess my point is that humans love to do this thing where they make everything the same, rigid and organized and in a straight line. It's not the way it is, right? Tuning-wise, I'll come to you in 1 second. Tuning-wise, notes in chords. If you tune every semitone the same size, it doesn't sound that good. Well, it sounds okay, but it doesn't sound as good. In the same way, if you make all the beats the same size, it doesn't feel good. Right?
Perfecto.
I guess my point is, first of all, musically, it's nice to bend things around, and I'll show you the hideaway groove in just a second. But also in a human way, in life, it's good to let yourself be wavy, because really it's the way the world is. You can't control everything in straight lines. It doesn't work. There was a question here. So I do use a metronome for recording Savior, but the metronome's not going. So Savior. But the metronome's not going. Yeah, also be like. It's really annoying, but this is fine.
El metrónomo está ahí.
Yeah. So 80, the metronome is 80 for Savior. But
80.
between, you got 80 and 80, between that, it's like all sorts of stuff can happen, But this is solid. And if there was no metronome at all, then it's fine, like for example, all of the, the I harm you melodies that I harmonize, like that's never a metronome because people go all over the place. But for Savior, and normally for recording, I work to a click because you can see it visually on Logic, the lines, and it just helps line things up because if you line everything up and it works, then it feels really good if it gets it in the pocket. So I think it's very important to take that statement about wonkiness, like not very, very literally. Like for example, like I wouldn't like give all of my money away and sell my house and be like wavy, I wouldn't do that. But maybe my mind would find other solutions to problems that aren't to do with being like this is right and this is wrong. There's a boundary there. But click is important. But between the click, then you can be flexible. It's a lot to do with the balance of finding the regimen and what you can use, like a restraint, an area, and then the freedom within that area. Like that, if you find the right balance, then it's totally fantastic. Okay, I want to show you a groove that is wonky but also straight. So this is close to you, right?
Okay, esto es close to
Thank
you.
you. And so the interesting thing about this is that 70, right? And I was in a phase in my life where I got super into like wonky grooves, like and all like like people like D'Angelo and Jay Dilla and Hiatus Coyote, these guys. So it's like this Moroccan groove I showed you, but it's like a hip hop version of that because it's like, and then they go like this, and everyone was like, all of the musicians were like, yeah, that's super cool. And so I wanted to find a way of understanding this. So there are different ways in which you could do it. One of them is you divide a beat into 5, as I was saying, and you go tack 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 tack. Okay. Another one is you divide it into 7, and you have. And then there's straight. So there's kind of like there's a margin you can move the beat a variety of different distances.
Perfecto. Entonces,
There are lots of other ways you can do it. You can do 9, 11, 13 and stuff like that. But honestly, for the purpose of this exercise, I want to focus on 5 and 7 to show you how this groove works. Question.
Sorry, but for instance,
por ejemplo, cuando en la subdivisión es 5, ¿dónde está el bombo y dónde está el tacho, el tambor?
It's okay. Yeah, so it's like it's 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2. Yeah. So the hi-hat is a 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. So it's on the 4th. Or in 7 it's yeah. So it's like 3 2. Or yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but it gets interesting though because you can move different parts of the groove can be doing different things because if everybody does the same thing in a groove, so say it was like I'm trying to think of say your groove was like if the bass was going like that's already taken. The kick drum's doing that already, So that doesn't add anything to the groove because it's just in unison with a part of the groove that already exists. I think it's very interesting to think about the fact that, it's not that the bass needs to do something totally different, like like filling all the gaps. But if it sometimes does different things, then it's really interesting. And this can happen on a big scale, and it can happen in a very minute scale. So, for example, in salsa music, the groove is wonky. It's sometimes it's like this, and if the bass is going, then actually, having zoomed into salsa a little bit, the bass is going like it's like triplets.